My son's wife didn't know I'd been learning Spanish for the past 9 months. When I overheard what she said about me to his Mexican investors at that dinner, I finally understood why my late husband had warned me about her years ago. I just wish I hadn't ignored him for so long. I'm Eleanor Brooks. Most people call me Ellie. I'm 67 years old, and until 3 weeks ago, I thought I had my life figured out. Widowed, retired, trying my best to stay useful without being a burden. Turns out I had no idea what was really going on in my own family. My husband George passed away 3 years ago. Pancreatic cancer. By the time they found it, there was nothing anyone could do. He was 65, still full of plans and dreams. We'd been married 43 years. He was a high school football coach, beloved by 3 generations of students in our little corner of Denver. The funeral drew over 400 people. I remember standing there in my black dress, shaking hand after hand, thinking that half the city knew my husband better than I knew my own daughter-in-law. George and I had one son, Ryan. He's 40 now, runs his own real estate development company. He's done well for himself. Very well, actually. The kind of success that means he's always traveling, always on calls, always distracted. He married Victoria 12 years ago. Everyone calls her Vicky, though she prefers Victoria. She's a corporate lawyer, sharp as a tack, beautiful in that polished way that always made me feel a little rumpled by comparison. George never liked her. He never said it outright. That wasn't his style. But I remember the first time we met her, at a fancy restaurant Ryan had chosen to impress us. She'd smiled and said all the right things, but George had been quiet the whole drive home. "What did you think?" I'd asked. He'd stared at the road for a long moment. "She's ambitious. That's not a bad thing." "No," he'd agreed. "But ambition without warmth is just hunger. And hungry people will eat anything that gets in their way." I'd told him he was being dramatic. He'd shrugged and never brought it up again. But sometimes, over the years, I'd catch him watching Vicky with this sad, knowing look, like he was waiting for something to happen. After George died, I threw myself into being a grandmother. Ryan and Vicky have 2 kids, Sophie, who's 11 now, and Marcus, who's 8. They're the lights of my life. I pick them up from school on Wednesdays and Fridays. I make them their grandfather's famous chocolate chip pancakes on Saturday mornings. I sit through every soccer game, every dance recital, every school play where Marcus plays a tree in the background. Vicky lets me do all this. She smiles and says thank you. She sends me calendar invites for family events, but there's always been something underneath. A tightness around her eyes when I show up, a slight edge in her voice when she talks to me, little comments that sting more than they should. "Oh, you're here early again." The kids don't really need supervision at their age, Eleanor. You don't have to bring food every time. We have a chef. Eleanor. She always calls me Eleanor, never Ellie, never Mom, like she's keeping me at arm's length with syllables. I told myself I was imagining things. I told myself she was just stressed, just busy, just different from me. Some people show love quietly. Maybe Vicky was one of those people. Then Sophie started the Spanish immersion program at her new school. It happened last January. Sophie came home from her first day absolutely glowing. She couldn't stop talking about it. Senora Ruiz had taught them how to count to 20. They'd learned to say "my name is" and "I like dogs." Sophie practiced her pronunciation all through dinner, her face scrunched up in concentration. "Grandma, you should learn too," she'd said. "Then we can practice together." I'd laughed it off at first. I was 66 years old. The last language I'd studied was French in high school, and I'd forgotten most of it within a year of graduating. But Sophie kept asking. Every Wednesday when I picked her up, she'd teach me a new word: casa, familia, abuela, grandmother. Then, one evening, I was at the library, my old sanctuary. I'd worked there for 30 years before retiring, first as a children's librarian, then as the head of community programs. I still volunteer there twice a month. And that evening, I saw a flyer on the bulletin board. Spanish for beginners. Learn the language of 21 countries. All ages welcome. I thought about Sophie. I thought about George, who'd always talked about retiring to a little town in Mexico, learning the language, eating fresh tamales every morning. We'd never made it. We'd put it off, like we'd put off everything, assuming we had more time. I signed up that night. 9 months later, I can hold a conversation. I'm not fluent, not by a long shot, but I can understand most of what's being said. I can read newspaper articles with a dictionary. I can watch telenovelas with Sophie and actually follow the plot instead of just reading subtitles. I didn't tell anyone. It felt private, like a secret garden I was tending just for myself. Sophie knew I was learning a little, but she didn't know I was taking classes 3 times a week, practicing with a conversation partner from Guadalajara over video chat, listening to Spanish podcasts during my morning walks. It was mine. The first thing that had been truly mine since George died. I didn't know it would also be the thing that changed everything. 3 weeks ago, Vicky called me. This was unusual. She normally texted, brief and businesslike. A phone call meant she wanted something. Eleanor, I need a favor. No hello. No, how are you? Just straight to business. Of course. What is it? Ryan has an important dinner next Thursday. The Delgado family from Mexico City. They're investors, very wealthy, looking to partner on a major resort development in Cabo. It's worth tens of millions. That sounds wonderful for Ryan. The thing is, Vicky continued, the Delgados are very traditional, family-oriented. Señor Delgado specifically asked if Ryan's parents would be attending. Apparently, in Mexican culture, it's important to know a person's family before doing business with them. I felt a small flutter of hope. An invitation. A chance to be included. I'd be honored to come. Great. Her voice was clipped. Just, dress appropriately. Something elegant but understated. And maybe don't talk too much about your library work or your book club. These are sophisticated people. Try not to bore them with small talk. The flutter died. There it was. That edge. I'll do my best, I said quietly. Perfect. Ryan will pick you up at 6. She hung up without saying goodbye. I spent the next week preparing. I bought a new dress, navy blue, elegant but not flashy. I got my hair done. I reviewed my Spanish, practicing business vocabulary and formal greetings. I told myself it didn't matter what Vicky thought of me. This was about supporting Ryan, about being a good mother. Thursday arrived. Ryan picked me up right on time. He looked tired, dark circles under his eyes, but he smiled when he saw me. You look great, Mom. Thank you, sweetheart. How are you feeling about tonight? Nervous, he admitted. This deal could change everything for the company. The Delgados don't partner with just anyone. They've turned down a lot of developers. Vicky was waiting in the car, scrolling through her phone. She glanced up when I got in. Nice dress, Eleanor. Thank you. We drove to La Rosa Blanca, one of the most exclusive restaurants in Denver. Private dining rooms, celebrity chefs, the kind of place George and I could never have afforded. The Delgados were already seated when we arrived. There were 4 of them. Señor Delgado was perhaps 70, with silver hair and kind eyes that crinkled when he smiled. His wife, Señora Delgado, was elegant and warm, maybe a few years younger than me. Their son, Miguel, was in his 40s, clearly the business mind of the family, and their daughter-in-law, Camila, was about Vicky's age, quiet and observant. They stood when we entered. Señor Delgado approached me first, not Ryan. He took my hand and bowed slightly. Señora Brooks, it is a great honor to meet the mother of the man who wants to build our dream resort. His English was accented but perfect. His warmth was genuine. The honor is mine, Señor Delgado. Señora Delgado embraced me like we were old friends. Please, call me Carmen, and you must be exhausted from raising such a successful son. I laughed, genuinely touched. He raised himself, mostly. I just made sure he ate his vegetables. We sat down. The dinner began with pleasantries, introductions, small talk about Denver and Mexico City. Ryan was nervous but professional. Vicky was charming, laughing at all the right moments, asking thoughtful questions. I sat quietly, as instructed. I smiled. I nodded. I ate the beautiful food and tried not to feel like a prop. About an hour in, the conversation shifted. Miguel started discussing business specifics with Ryan, numbers and timelines and contracts. Vicky leaned in, contributing her legal expertise. The Delgados were impressed. Then Vicky said something that made me freeze. I actually studied Spanish at Brown, she announced. I minored in Latin American studies. I thought it might be useful for business. I hadn't known this. Neither had Ryan, apparently, because he looked surprised. Victoria, that's wonderful, Carmen said warmly. Please, then we can speak more comfortably. Sometimes English feels so formal. And just like that, parts of the conversation switched to Spanish. Vicky was good, not native level but confident, her accent decent. She translated occasionally for Ryan, summarizing what was being said. The Delgados seemed more relaxed, more animated. I sat there, still and silent, understanding every word. At first, it was fine. Business talk, compliments about the food, questions about Mexico City. Then Vicky glanced at me and said something in Spanish to Camila. Don't worry about the old woman. She doesn't understand a word we're saying. Ryan's mother is, how do I put this? Not very worldly. My heart stopped. Camila's eyes flickered to me, then back to Vicky. She looked uncomfortable. That seems unkind to say. Vicky waved her hand dismissively. Trust me, she's sweet, but simple. She spent her whole life in a library. She thinks learning Spanish means counting to 10 with her granddaughter. She laughed. I'm surprised she managed to dress herself appropriately tonight. I had to remind her 3 times. Carmen's expression shifted slightly. She was watching Vicky now, something cool in her gaze. But Vicky didn't notice. She was on a roll, emboldened by wine and the assumption that I was deaf to her words. Honestly, she's become such a burden, always hovering around, showing up unannounced, acting like the children need her when they're perfectly fine. Ryan is too soft-hearted to do anything about it, but I've been looking into options. Options? Miguel asked, his voice neutral. Assisted living facilities. There's a nice one about an hour outside the city. Very comfortable. She'll have people her own age to talk to, activities to keep her busy. Better than her rattling around that big empty house, don't you think? Señor Delgado set down his fork. His kind eyes had gone cold. Vicky continued, oblivious. After this deal closes, we'll have the money to set it up properly. I've already toured the facility. Very clean, very professional. She'll resist, of course. Old people always do. But Ryan will come around eventually. He always does what I tell him in the end. Camila stood up abruptly. Excuse me, I need some air. She left the room. Carmen watched her go, then turned back to Vicky with an expression I couldn't quite read. Vicky switched to English, smiling at the table. Sorry about that. Was I being boring with my Spanish practice? Señor Delgado's voice was quiet. Not boring, Señora Reeves. Quite illuminating. Something in his tone made Vicky's smile falter, but she recovered quickly. Eleanor, are you enjoying the food? You've been so quiet. All eyes turned to me. I looked at my daughter-in-law, at her confident smile, at the complete certainty in her eyes that I was exactly what she described. Sweet, simple, clueless. I thought about George, about his warning that I'd ignored for 12 years, about all the times I'd told myself I was imagining things, that Vicky didn't really mean it, that I was being too sensitive. I thought about Sophie, teaching me Spanish words in the car every Wednesday, about my conversation partner in Guadalajara who had become a friend, about 9 months of classes and podcasts and telenovelas, all building toward this moment I never saw coming. Some secrets are meant to be revealed at exactly the right time. I set down my napkin and looked directly at Carmen. Then I spoke in Spanish. The food is wonderful, thank you. But I find I've lost my appetite. It's difficult to eat when your daughter-in-law is discussing which nursing home to put you in without your knowledge or consent. The silence was absolute. Vicky's face went white. Ryan's head snapped toward me. Señor Delgado leaned back in his chair, a strange satisfaction in his eyes. Mom? Ryan's voice was barely a whisper. You speak Spanish? I continued in Spanish, addressing Carmen. I apologize for the deception. I've been learning Spanish for 9 months now. My granddaughter Sophie attends a Spanish immersion program, and I wanted to share that with her. I didn't intend to eavesdrop on a private conversation, but my daughter-in-law has been calling me senile and a burden and discussing plans to remove me from my grandchildren's lives. I felt you should know the kind of person you're considering doing business with. Carmen reached across the table and took my hand. In Spanish, she said, you have nothing to apologize for. Your Spanish is beautiful. How long did you study? 9 months. Classes at my local library. online tutoring, lots of telenovelas. She laughed, a warm sound. Telenovelas are the best teachers. My grandmother always said so. Vicky found her voice. Eleanor, I didn't mean, you misunderstood. I switched to English so there would be no confusion. I misunderstood nothing, Victoria. You called me senile. You said I was a burden. You told these people you were going to put me in a home without even discussing it with me. You said Ryan always does what you tell him. I looked at my son. Is that true, Ryan? Do you always do what she tells you? Ryan looked like he'd been slapped. Mom, I had no idea. I swear I didn't know she was planning any of this. Senor Delgado spoke, his voice carrying the weight of authority. Mr. Brooks, in my culture, how a person treats their elders tells you everything about their character. We have a saying, El que no respeta a sus mayores, no merece el respeto de nadie. He who doesn't respect his elders deserves no one's respect. Senor Delgado, please, Vicky said, her composure cracking. This is a family matter. It has nothing to do with business. It has everything to do with business, Miguel said coldly. We partner with people we trust, people of integrity. How can we trust you with our family's investment when you treat your own family with such contempt? Vicky turned to Ryan, desperate. Say something. Fix this. But Ryan wasn't looking at her. He was looking at me, and there were tears in his eyes. Mom, how long has she been like this to you? I thought about all the little comments over the years, all the times I'd made excuses, all the moments I'd swallowed my hurt to keep the peace. 12 years, I said quietly, since the beginning, but I kept telling myself I was imagining it. Carmen squeezed my hand. You weren't imagining anything. A mother always knows. Senor Delgado stood. I think this dinner is over. Please, Vicky said, standing too. We can still discuss the deal. My mother-in-law's feelings shouldn't affect a business decision worth millions of dollars. The look Senor Delgado gave her could have frozen fire. Her feelings are exactly why there will be no deal. My wife is 64 years old. My mother, God rest her soul, lived with us until she passed at 92. In our family, elders are not burdens to be disposed of. They are treasures to be protected. He turned to me. Senora Brooks, it has been an honor to meet you. I am sorry it was under these circumstances. Thank you, Senor Delgado. He looked at Ryan. Your mother is a remarkable woman. I hope you realize that before it's too late. The Delgados left together. Camila had never returned from her walk. The room felt empty and cold. Vicky grabbed her purse. This is insane. You've ruined everything, Eleanor. Millions of dollars, gone, because you couldn't keep your mouth shut. No, I said calmly. Millions of dollars, gone, because you couldn't treat me like a human being. Ryan, are you going to let her talk to me like that? Ryan was staring at the table. When he looked up, his face was set like stone. I think you should leave, Victoria. What? I think you should go back to the hotel. We have a lot to talk about, but not tonight, not in front of my mother. Vicky laughed, a harsh sound. You're choosing her over me? Over your wife? I'm choosing to finally open my eyes, he said. Go. I'll call you tomorrow. She stared at him for a long moment. Then she grabbed her coat and stormed out, slamming the door behind her. Ryan and I sat in silence. A waiter appeared, nervously asking if we needed anything. Ryan waved him away. Mom, he said finally. I'm so sorry. I know, sweetheart. I should have seen it. All these years, I should have noticed how she treated you. You were busy, building your company, raising your kids. Life gets complicated. That's not an excuse. He rubbed his face with his hands. Dad tried to warn me, didn't he, before the wedding? He said something about her not being warm. I felt tears prick my eyes at the mention of George. He had good instincts about people. Better than me. I should have listened to him. I should have listened to you. Every time you seemed uncomfortable around her, I told myself it was just adjustment issues, mother-in-law stuff. I was so blind. Love makes us blind sometimes. He laughed bitterly. I don't think I love her. I'm not sure I ever did. I think I was impressed by her. Dazzled. She was so confident, so driven. I thought that's what success looked like. He looked at me. But real success is sitting across from me right now. You lost Dad and you kept going. You learned a whole new language at 67. You showed more grace tonight than Victoria has shown in 12 years of marriage. I reached across the table and took his hand. What happens now? I don't know. But I know some things are over. The marriage, for sure. I can't stay with someone who would treat you like that. He squeezed my hand. And Mom, I want you more involved in our lives, not less. The kids love you. I love you. You're not a burden. You never were. I started crying then. All the tears I'd held back for years, all the hurt I'd swallowed to keep the peace. Ryan came around the table and held me while I sobbed. I'm sorry, he kept saying. I'm so sorry. The next few weeks were chaos. Ryan moved out of the house and into a condo near mine. The kids stayed with him most of the time. Sophie and Marcus were confused and scared, but Ryan was honest with them in age-appropriate ways. Grandma wasn't going anywhere. Some things between Mom and Dad needed to be worked out. Victoria fought the divorce, of course. She fought for the house, the assets, the business. But Ryan had good lawyers, better ones than her, and the truth about her behavior that night had spread through their social circle like wildfire. The Delgados, it turned out, were well connected. Word got around about the American businesswoman who'd called her elderly mother-in-law senile at a dinner table. Victoria's reputation took a hit. So did her law career. It's hard to practice family law when everyone knows how you treat your own family. As for me, something unexpected happened. 3 days after the dinner, I received a phone call from Carmen Delgado. Eleanor, I hope I'm not disturbing you. Not at all. How can I help you? Actually, I wanted to help you. My husband and I have been talking. We were so impressed by your grace under pressure and by your dedication to learning Spanish. We have a small foundation that sponsors cultural exchange programs. We'd like to invite you to Mexico City. I nearly dropped the phone. I'm sorry? 2 weeks, all expenses paid. You'll stay with a host family, take language classes, experience our culture. Your granddaughter could come too. We have a youth program. I was speechless. Eleanor, are you still there? I'm here. I don't know what to say. Say yes. You deserve this. And honestly, after everything your daughter-in-law put you through, you deserve a vacation. I started laughing, then crying, then both at once. Yes, I finally managed. Sophie screamed so loud when I told her that Marcus came running in thinking someone was hurt. When she calmed down enough to explain, he immediately started asking if he could come too. Maybe next time, I told him. This trip is for Spanish speakers. Then I'm learning Spanish too, he declared. Grandma, teach me. So now I have 2 students. Every Wednesday and Friday, we practice together. Sophie helps me with my accent. Marcus is memorizing vocabulary with the determination of an 8-year-old who doesn't want to miss out on anything. Ryan came over last night for dinner. He looked better than he had in weeks. Lighter, somehow. The divorce is almost finalized, he said. She's not fighting custody anymore. I think she realized the kids didn't want to live with her. How are you feeling? Relieved. And sad. And angry. All of it. He paused. Mom, I keep thinking about what Señor Delgado said. About how treating elders shows your character. I want to be someone who passes that test. You already are, sweetheart. No. I let Victoria make you feel invisible for years. I'm going to spend the rest of my life making up for that. I hugged him tight. Just be present, I whispered. That's all I ever wanted. Our flight to Mexico City leaves in 2 weeks. Sophie has been practicing Spanish with her conversation partner in Guadalajara, a teenage girl named Ana, who she now calls her almost sister. I've been watching travel videos and making lists of things I want to see. The museums, the markets, the street food George always dreamed about trying. I'm packing light, just the essentials and a small photo of George that I carry everywhere. I talk to him sometimes, late at night. You were right about her, I told him last night. But you were also right about something else. Life is short. We shouldn't wait for permission to live fully. If you're listening to this and you feel invisible in your own life, if your presence is tolerated rather than celebrated, I want you to know something. You are not too old to start over. You are not a burden. You are not whatever diminishing words someone has used to describe you. Learn something new. Take a class. Book a trip. Use your voice when people assume you have nothing to say. The best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's living fully, Loudly, unapologetically. Sometimes you have to lose everything to realize you never had what you thought you did. And sometimes, in the wreckage, you find something better. I found myself. I found my voice. I found a second chance at the adventures George and I always planned. And in 2 weeks, I'm going to Mexico City with my granddaughter to live the dream we never got to share. George would have loved that. Trust me, it's worth the wait.